Hi there, welcome. My name's Aaron. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Split Atom Labs. We thought we'd make a short little video just to introduce what we're about and what we're trying to achieve with this company. And then, of course, open the invitation to anyone who wants to reach out and have a bit more of a deeper conversation with us. My co-founder Matthew and I started this company to create accessible by design games with innovative and inclusive experiences for all players. How did we get here? How did we come up with this as the direction that we wanted to go? Well, back in 2014, I made a game called Land of Livia. It's an iOS adventure RPG game. It was launched a couple of years later on the Apple App Store. And then in 2018, I started to get a lot of emails from visually impaired and blind players talking about voiceover capability of the game and how it could be made much more accessible. I took this seriously and invested time to make it as accessible as I could at the time. And then we really started to get traction with that audience. They played the game more. We started to cater the game more towards their needs. And then by 2019, 2020, we were receiving kind of monthly feedback, sometimes in the form of, hey, I lost my eyesight due to a congenital eye condition. I never thought I could play games again. Now I'm able to play your game. Or, hey, I've been blind from birth. I always hear about my friends playing these great casual games and mobile games. Now I can enjoy them too. So this was really positive feedback. And it was kind of hard to ignore that there was this need here that wasn't being met. So in 2023, last year, after much encouragement from my wife, Eliza, I dug into the data. I started to dig into the data around how many people could be interested in games like this. And what I found was that it wasn't just visual impairment that was a challenge here. Approximately 16% of the world experiences significant disability, whether it might be visual, hearing, motor impairment, all the way through to cognitive impairment. And in almost all of those, games today are falling short. We're starting our focus with visual and fine motor impairment. That's where Land of Livia does really well right now. And what we haven't seen is really a standout chart topper casual game that can be enjoyed by all people. And so that's where we think we can kind of hit the ground and make a difference. When we look at why are we starting this business now and why do we think it's the right time to do so, there are now 3 billion gamers in the world. That's kind of astonishing. Back from the days when gaming was a very niche activity that kind of nerds and geeks did in their basements, through to now that there's around 40% of the population are playing games. Many of them won't even admit that they're gamers, but they're gaming quite regularly throughout the day on their mobile phones. And I really think that's going to continue to increase even beyond the mobile generation when we get into kind of the wearables of the future. So we think it's the right time. We're excited to kind of embark on this mission. And we've been at it for around 4 or 5 months now. And before that, kind of, there was quite a few steps along the way to get here. So let me just run you through quickly kind of the road so far. About mid-2023, I left my job as an engineering manager at Meta, where I was working on augmented reality games. It was very exciting, very interesting work, but I felt a little bit empty as far as the value I was providing to the world. I felt like I needed to devote myself to something with a deeper meaning, a deeper personal meaning. So I decided to leave Meta. I hope to do another video later on exactly kind of the reasons behind that and how it's gone so far, because there's a lot to dig into there. I then teamed up with my former colleague, Matthew Dorenzo, and we started to kind of put together a business plan and really look at this opportunity that we saw in front of us. How could we best solve this problem of making games more accessible, specifically casual games, because that's where we think the bigger opportunity is. I then made the difficult decision to move my entire family, my wife and 2 kids, back to Melbourne from Brooklyn, where we've been living for 7.5 years. That was no small feat by any means. Then we went through all the kind of usual steps of setting up a company, the legal paperwork, branding, website, etc. And then we got around to re-establishing the Land of Livia community. There hadn't been many updates for quite a period of time. It needed to be updated to the latest iOS versions. We had some kind of quality of life improvements to add to streamline the gaming experience. And we just wanted to really connect back with the players and understand where are they at now and what are they looking for in terms of where the game goes from here. That went really well. We're now seeing kind of strong weekly growth in the community. And now we're at the point where we're publicly launching the company. We want to start talking with more potential partners, with more customers, and then start to make more progress on our mission over the coming years, which is really exciting. When we think about the opportunities ahead of us, I think the thing that makes me most excited is we're going to bring fun to more people. I'm a big advocate, as is Matthew, of kind of the fun and the value that games can provide. And even beyond that, there are many health benefits that they can provide as well. And there's kind of an increasing amount of studies that are starting to make those links. But we also think there's a large amount of innovation to bring to this space, both being from the tech industry ourselves for many years. We're always thinking about how can we use emerging technology to better solve problems that maybe haven't been solved that well in the past. So at the moment, we're utilizing tools like Apple VoiceOver and Google TalkBack, which are great assistive technologies. We think that there's going to be more advances unlocked by artificial intelligence to better understand the experience, better understand the world around you, and the intent of the player. So that's really exciting. We also think that it's going to allow us to create content at a faster rate. Obviously still very heavily curated, but it can take a lot of the legwork, or at least it can speed up a lot of the groundwork that's required to create content at scale. Further to that, having come from augmented reality at Meta myself and having spent a long time earlier in my career in augmented reality making games, I'm still so bullish about the augmented reality space. I think that Apple Vision Pro and Quest 3 are really good at setting the stage of like where hardware is going to be, where the hardware opportunities are going to be in the coming years. And we're not quite there yet as far as the ubiquitous next computing platform. But as we take further steps towards that, I really think that that's where accessibility in games can really take a giant leap forward. So we plan to be right there at the forefront as things emerge. And even just on like a more granular gameplay level, we think that there are a lot better ways to incorporate the sensors and abilities that different players have as strengths versus just focusing on what they don't have. For example, really leaning into audio cues and audio gameplay for someone who can't see. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of challenges as well. We're not going into this kind of with blinkers on. We know that starting a new company is going to be very challenging. We think it's obviously worth it, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. But one of the biggest challenges we think we're going to have is reaching people. This is a problem that many startups have. Many games in particular are released every year. Lots of games get released on Steam. Lots of indie games get released. And it's very hard to pick the ones that are going to get traction with an audience. It's kind of a little bit luck of the draw. So, many people I talk to are like, hey, you're creating an indie game. You're going to have to worry about how do you find players, etc., etc. And yes, that is definitely a problem. I actually think our problem's slightly worse than that, unfortunately, because I think that there's a large proportion of people with disabilities that don't even know they can game. So they're not even considering themselves an active gamer. They're not even searching for potential games that are out there. So we're going to get the early adopters, the people that are already kind of pushing the current technology to be able to game with whatever kind of impairment they have at the moment. But we're going to need to go beyond that to get broader adoption. And that's going to be a real challenge. But we're excited about exploring the different ways to do that and engaging in the community around it to help it flourish. The next big challenge we're going to have is, once again, a challenge that many games have actually, which is monetization. So in order to build a sustainable business and actually solve this problem at scale, to create an environment where there are plenty of successful casual games for people with disabilities to play on a level playing field with everybody else, we're going to need to monetize. And we have to explore kind of what monetization techniques work well with this audience. And we have to balance the way that we're doing that to create the income that we need to keep investing and grow the company with, the social good mission and making sure that we're not using exploitative monetization techniques that, have been quite rife across the casual game industry. So that's going to be an interesting kind of line to walk. We think it's possible, and we've already made some initial steps into that. And what we ask of the community is to just be kind of direct with us. If you think that we're going down a route of monetization that doesn't make sense, open out that line of dialogue. We're happy to hear the feedback, happy to adjust our plans. We're going to be using, a lot of the more successful monetization techniques that we see in the broader industry as kind of a playbook to start to apply and see what works in our situations. We look to, great free-to-play games like Warframe, Guild Wars 2, where they've really struck a great balance between providing free content and customization and options that monetize without kind of ostracizing parts of the community that are playing for free. So we think they've done a really great job, and we're excited to kind of see what we can bring to the table. So where do we go from here? Well, at this point, every little bit of help is going to be valuable. If you see this video, if you see any of our posts across social media, please refer it to friends that may have an impairment of some type, may find our games useful. Even if our current games are not the types of games that you either want to play or suit their skill sets, we'd still love to connect and learn more about what they want to see. Give us feedback. What types of games do you want to play? How would you like to see our current games evolve? We're very, very driven to listen to that feedback and make sure that we're incorporating it into our roadmaps. Please connect with us across the various social media accounts. I'll put a lot of links down in the description below. Choose the platforms that you like to engage in and give us a join, a follow, whatever it might be. So yeah, exciting times ahead. Hopefully we'll have some more kind of videos coming in the next few months that dig into various different aspects of the business. Also happy to hear from you about what you'd like to hear more of. But until then, thank you very much for your support and for watching. Catch you later.